I believe that one of the dire issues facing this country today is transportation, global climate change, energy independence, and excessive reliance on fossil fuels. It's all the same problem. Tapping into U.S. oil reserves will accomplish exactly one thing, and only that temporarily. It will remind and reinforce Americans that it's okay to not worry about the oil crisis. I think it's an artificial answer. We must be about the task urgently and immediately to completely redefine energy and energy independence starting now. I mean, we're complaining about $3.61 a gallon of gasoline, while Europe has been paying $6 to $9 for a gallon of gasoline for a very, very long time. And they're driving around in energy-efficient cars, get this, which American car makers are selling in Europe but not selling in the United States. We need to get serious about energy conservation, and we won't do it by artificially and temporarily tapping into U.S. oil reserves.
Yeah, I find a lot of agreement with what Mike said in terms of what we need to do to solve our energy and environmental problems. And we know that they've been ignored for too long, and there's nothing more important than the future of our planet. So I think what we do have to do is fundamentally alter. We need fundamental change here too. We have got to become less dependent or break our dependence on foreign oil. I do believe that means we need to take back those tax benefits, tax breaks we're giving to oil companies while they're earning record profits, and invest them in the development of alternative fuels. We have got to pursue conservation in our autos with the efficiency standards in all our appliances, all our buildings. We can do this. We've done it before. We did make great strides in the 70s. We can do it again. And I believe we've got to begin to look at real limits on carbon emissions. I think we need to explore the cap-and-trade system to give us real incentives to conserve and to be efficient in this country. And finally, we've got to become the leaders again in the world in terms of saving the planet. We have lost the moral authority, not only with the war in Iraq, but with our rejection of international treaties on environmental goals. We've got to change all that, and again, I'm running to bring that change. Well, that's a question that I just was addressing a moment ago, and I'm happy to talk about it some more. I think that we've made some strides in terms of at least our understanding, general acceptance that global warming is a huge problem. If we don't start acting now, we really are destroying our planet, and we've got to do something about that. I give Al Gore a lot of credit for doing a lot of education, but it's not yet produced much action. So as I've said, I think that we really do need to reduce our use of fossil fuels. I don't think there's any question about it. And we talked a moment ago about breaking our dependence on foreign oil and developing alternatives. And in terms of promoting efficiency, I think there are two pieces. We know that there are many technologies that we already exist that we can employ better. We can achieve much better gas mileage in our cars than we're now doing with existing technologies. But there's also a need to invest in new technologies and to invest in the research that will produce those technologies. We know that Virginia has an enormous capacity for developing research in this area. It's good for our jobs, it's good for our environment, it's good for the nation's future. And I've heard former Governor Warner, to be Senator Warner, talk about the capacity that we have in Virginia to use our research capacity, bring in industry, and develop new technologies that will enable us to be more efficient in the future. And then I mentioned I can say more about international leadership. We rejected the Kyoto standards, and as I said several years ago, the international treaty that we had, or the international agreement that we had to lower our use of fossil fuels, and we walked away from that and put nothing in its place, and President Bush has just announced a very inadequate policy for the future. So we're looking for leadership with other nations of the world, because this is a global problem for which we need global change and global solutions.
Thank you.
Governor Kane, Governor O'Malley, and Mayor Adrian Fenty have just this past February proposed an initiative called the Chesapeake Crescent Initiative. The Crescent runs from Wilmington, Delaware down to Hampton Roads. And what this is, it proposes a long-term cooperative agreement and arrangement between private industry, high-tech private industry, and government, and any number of organizations in the regional area to take a holistic, overarching look at the entire Crescent as a single entity. And we just know that the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority lost its taxing authority. That's not good news, but in a sense it is, because it looked at the problem as a Virginia problem, and clearly it's not just a Virginia problem. We need to look at whole regions. And I think we really need to rethink how we move around in an urban environment. We could make Northern Virginia the template for what H.R. 2089 has called the new Apollo Energy Act of 2007, which is precisely that. Create tax incentives, create award programs to encourage and entice the private sector, just like the Apollo program, to create a green sector in the United States. Suck up those right now stagnant manufacturing jobs and put them into the new green sector, and get wages up and get jobs up, and do the kinds of things to create a green sector in this country in a completely revolutionary kind of way. That's how we have to begin to tackle this. We've seen what happens when the market mechanism fails, as in the housing crisis, and now we're going to have a period of government regulation. If we work cooperatively with private industry and we entice them through federal tax policy to cooperate preemptively, we can create that kind of new sector and really address the issues such as global warming in a really meaningful way.